All right, welcome to This Explainer, where we are diving deep into the absolute ultimate defensive mechanics for catchers. Think about it for a second. When a runner takes off to steal second base, a catcher has roughly 2.0 seconds to get the ball there. That is literally less time than it takes to take a deep breath. We're going to break down these highly kinetic, incredibly fast-paced movements into a truly actionable guide. If you've ever watched a top-tier catcher absolutely shut down a running game or just save a wild pitch from becoming a total disaster, it honestly looks like magic. But here's the secret. It's not magic, it's mechanics. And today, we're going to dissect exactly how they do it.
Now, what's really fascinating about this quote from Dick's Sporting Goods is how it perfectly nails the immense responsibility and really the hidden power of the position. You aren't just back there acting as a backstop. You're the anchor of the entire defense. A dependable catcher doesn't just stop the baseball. They elevate the pitcher on the mound. They build confidence, chemistry, and just absolute trust. Because if a pitcher knows you've got their back, well, they're going to throw harder and pitch a whole lot bolder.
So, here's our game plan for mastering the position today. First, our foundation, receiving and blocking. Second, throwing key 1, transfer. Third, throwing key 2, footwork. And finally, throwing key 3, finish. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. Foundation, Receiving and Blocking.
Okay, so for receiving, you're looking for a square, relaxed stance with nice flexion in your ankles, knees, and hips. But here's the key. Your glove orientation needs to dynamically shift depending on the pitch location so you can frame strikes effectively. So for a pitch right down the middle, keep a horizontal glove position. Simple enough, right? But if that ball is inside or outside, you gotta shift to a vertical glove position. Actually, a really fantastic way to practice this framing without the distraction of a heavy, clunky mitt is to just take the glove off entirely. Just use your bare hand to catch tennis balls, really working on grabbing those inside and outside edges. It's an unbelievable drill to build up that soft, reliable receiving hand.
But what happens when that ball hits the dirt? Megram softball breaks blocking down into 3 sequential steps, and honestly, they are absolute game changers. Step 1 is critical. Drop the glove down first. Whether the ball is coming straight down the middle or bouncing off to the side, your glove goes down first because it is your primary line of defense. The body always follows the glove. Then step 2 is replacing your feet with your knees, and step 3 is concaving your chest. Let's take a slightly closer look at those last 2.
This concept right here brilliantly illustrates how you should execute step 2, replacing your feet with your knees. You definitely do not want to hop up in the air and crash down. Seriously, that will destroy your knees over time. Instead, imagine there's a rug under your feet and someone standing behind you is just yanking that rug right out from beneath you. You sweep your feet backward. Why? Because as the quote says, you want to be a sponge, not a wall. By dropping back, you're actually creating depth, which allows the ball to absorb right into your belly button and drop dead directly in front of home plate.
And that brings us perfectly to step 3, the chest position. If you stay too upright with a flat chest, that ball can ricochet wildly anywhere it wants. But by concaving your chest, just imagine someone poking you really hard right in the sternum. You naturally puff out your back and round those shoulders. This creates the absolute perfect downward angle. So even if the ball takes a terrible hop and hits your shoulder instead of your belly button, that rounded angle forces it to deaden and drop right in front of you so you can make a secondary play.
So the crucial question now is, once you've successfully secured that ball, whether it was a beautiful frame on the corner or a really tough block in the dirt, how do you quickly transition into stopping a runner dead in their tracks? I mean, how do you flip that switch from defense to offense in just a fraction of a second?
Let's move to section 2, throwing key 1, transfer. Coach Bougie points out a massive, almost universal mistake that catchers make right at the point of receiving. They catch forward. When you reach out and push forward at the ball, you actually slow your entire sequence down. You're working against your own momentum. Instead, you have to let the ball travel to you and catch it backward, bringing it actively towards your chest. This creates a really seamless, rapid flow of energy directly into your throwing motion.
Now, once you're bringing that ball backward, the path it takes matters immensely. Pull straight, no big loops. Megram emphasizes cutting out the legs entirely during practice drills so you can focus purely on keeping this transition tight and straight across your body. Imagine a perfectly straight line going from your glove directly to your throwing shoulder. By forcing yourself to sit there and do 25 to 30 reps from a stationary, legless position, you build up that muscle memory for lightning speed up top way before you even have to worry about what your lower half is doing.
Section 3, throwing key 2, footwork.
To get that lower half right, Coach Bougie's letter T drill visually trains this exact perfect footwork. You literally just draw a T right in the dirt. You start with your feet shoulder-width apart on the horizontal line, mimicking your normal squat. Then as you make your transfer, you step to the vertical line, making sure your right foot lands open. What this drill does so well is force you to step accurately without wildly hopping around. It keeps you in complete grounded control.
And let's talk about why eliminating that hop is so fundamentally important. As Megram points out, if you jump up and both feet land at the exact same time, your head bounces. And if your head bounces, you completely lose your line of sight to your target. So the overarching rule here is simple. Stay low in your legs. As the transition is happening, not a second before, not a second after, let your right foot cleanly swing around and replace your left heel. Your right hip goes first, your left hip goes second, and you maintain a perfectly stable, still head while generating an incredible amount of rotational torque.
Section 4. Throwing Key 3. Finish.
Have you ever noticed your throws constantly sailing high and wide, like you're nearly taking off the center fielder's head? Yeah, it's incredibly common, and it's more than likely because your follow-through is pulling you completely off toward right center field. Instead of leaking all that precious energy off to the side, you have to power straight through with your backside. You want every ounce of that momentum you just built up driving directly into the target.
So to prevent yourself from jumping out too fast and losing that directional power, Coach Bougie highly recommends the pitcher's pose drill. Here's how it works. You start in a half stance, you make your lightning-fast transfer, and then, instead of actually throwing the ball, you freeze. You just hold your balance in a pitcher's pose on that back leg. It forces your body to find its natural balance point, because once you can reliably hit that balance point, it becomes vastly easier to use your back and just whip that throw powerfully rather than lunging forward and weakly pushing the ball.
And honestly, this is where the magic happens. When you stack all these skills together, you completely transform as a player. It starts with being a sponge in the dirt to protect the plate. Then, you execute a flawless backward transfer straight to your chest. You replace your feet cleanly, without that bouncy hop, keeping your eyes locked like a laser on the runner. And finally, you hold your balance point and power directly through the target with your backside. When you string these specific, highly drilled movements together, you literally become an absolute wall of defense.
Now, mastering these mechanics definitely takes serious grit, endless repetition, and a real willingness to break your bad habits down to their bare foundations. But the reward? The reward is total control of the game. So what's it going to be? Are you going to keep letting runners steal bases on your watch, or are you ready to hit the dirt, draw that tee, and build yourself an absolute cannon? The base paths aren't going to defend themselves, that's for sure. Keep practicing, and I'll see you in the next explainer.